the reason why I asked you to be on the podcast is because you bring a perspective that most people want to know about and they're afraid to go into.
It's weird because even within a corporate environment, it's project based. So it's almost as if you're freelance. The sources of learning is just by doing, and like different having mentorship and someone teaching you.
That's crazy because I think the opposite.
But like I think for people in their 20s and stuff, it's like finding what you love to do. Creativity can come in different mediums. My name's Chris. For those of you guys watching.
Chris what?
Lamb, Lam.
Yeah.
I've known Ducky we've known each other for like about 4 years ago, I think.
No, it's been longer than that. I'm pretty sure it was like
maybe 5, 6.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was like 2017.
Dude, time flies, so it's like you kind of forget. But we haven't seen each other in so long, and
been a year. It's been over a year.
Yeah, but I feel like so much more stuff like growing up wise has happened. So then, it's almost like we're like re-meeting again. Yeah,
I've seen you around quite a bit from obviously what we've done, like Wong Fu and here and there, but I think I also saw you a few times outside of that, right? Like I remember going to your college house, and then I went to your house in Monterey Park once.
I have no recollection of
Really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. He doesn't remember. I see how it is. I think what's interesting is that like the reason why I asked you to be on the podcast is because you bring a perspective that most people want to know about and they're afraid to go into. Right?
Yeah.
And we've talked about this earlier, about how you have this artistic like passion and you want to go more into the things that you want to go into. And it's not that what you're doing right now is something you don't want to do. You love it, but you're in the realm of a corporate job, right?
Yeah.
And are you fixated now? Like, are you fixed in the sense of I work these hours and that's it?
It's weird because even within a corporate environment, it's project based. So it's almost as if you're freelancing, but then like you just have a steady paycheck and everything, and you're still able to do the work that what a freelancer does. Like the projects I'm on, they're all like, when I have a project, it's like just get it across the finish line. There's no hours and things. It's salary, so, but then when you're not on anything, then you're chilling. Like right now I'm chilling. That's
the interesting perspective because I've been in that route. I've worked a 9-to-5 tech job too, but I don't think it's also normal as yours. Mine was a startup, so like you work 24/7 still in some sense.
Yeah.
Because a freelancer, you basically work 24/7.
Yeah.
In reality, and you can choose to not work or work to your own will, but you are making as much money as you put in.
Yeah.
But then in corporate sense, it's like you are working for this amount for this amount.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just like, that's so crazy to me. Like, do you like that?
For some content or context,
yeah.
Like I work in advertising. I work as an agency producer. And then before I was kind of like growing up in LA, you see everyone that freelance. So I grew up around freelancers, but to my point, oh no, you're talking about the pay, right? Let's get back on track.
No, you can give context if you want.
Yeah. So like, I think regardless of, let's just throw freelancer and corporate out of the question. It's just more of like, what do you want to do? And then if that's what you want to do, how you get your money, that's just a secondary thing to what you want to do. Like if you want to, for example, like my passion, like it's currently right now at the company I'm working for, right? Like how I get money, like I could be freelance and other companies can hire me freelance, but for the time being, like I'm still young. I know that like, I think in a corporate setting, you have the mentorship and wisdom of people that are much older than you that have more experience. And I think to draw from that is like priceless. You're not going to go to school for it. Like you're getting paid to learn. So I think I really like working in a corporate setting because companies have made those mistakes and they have to learn from those mistakes to become profitable. And I think it's just like learning, you know, like I think it has a better structure in learning. Whereas in freelance, like I just know that there's the sources of learning is just by doing, and like those companies already did all those mistakes. So you just kind of like, I feel like it takes longer to learn as a freelancer.
It takes longer to learn.
Yeah, because you're going to make those same mistakes that people have made historically. Because, like, what are you going to do? Like, YouTube it? Like, I feel like I've watched every YouTube video on how to do something. But, I don't know. It's just different having mentorship and someone teaching you because, like, I know for myself, like, I can't learn as fast as someone who's just showing me the way. Yeah.
Like, so... Your process of thinking is like reinventing the wheel. Like, why reinvent it, right? Like, so, there's this concept of just like when you make something, people are making the same thing but in just different ways, right? No one's innovating. No one's I guess escalating it to a different level because everyone's so independent, learning from scratch. But you're saying that working in a corporate sense, you have someone above you, right? And they're teaching you, right? Mentoring you
and molding me.
That's crazy because I think the opposite. Is that weird?
What's your thoughts?
So I think that when you work in a corporate job, people are learning the same thing over and over. But when you're in freelance, you have the openness to learn whatever you want, and it could be in such a creative way that it wasn't formally conducted by the same person.
Yeah. But it also depends on where you work. So like, I really like where I work because.
You should talk about where you work. Yeah.
So I work at this ad agency called Wyden and Kennedy, and I mean, you guys can look it up. I don't need to kind of just speak about it, but I love the place because like the culture is kind of what makes the place what it is. Like they're almost like a bunch of freelancers running around, but in a corporate like setting. Like we have like don't think cubicles and stuff. I mean, like if you look up The Office, it's like it's a creative agency, so it's very free thinking, like scrappy. There is no process. And what I found was like once I started working in a much bigger place, like you're driving a semi truck versus driving like a sports car. I think as a freelancer, you're driving a sports car. It doesn't have much power in it, but it's nimble. It can handle almost like a Miata. But if you're in a corporate setting, I feel like, I don't know, for me, I felt like I was driving like a Toyota Tundra, like it's V8, like it's powerful, but you just got to know how to drive it.
Oh, that's a good.
Because once you're headed in the right direction, it's like you can get there so fast. Places.
Yeah. So are you picturing this world to be more of like the landscape is very difficult to be on, and it's like, oh, people are driving on regular cars, and then you have the Tundra and you can like go on all these different planes. But it's like you have to know how to use it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I think you can work corporate, but like it's just as long as you're learning, at the end of the day, that's like what it's all about. Like it could be the best, you know, like you don't have to worry about like how you're going to pay your bills and stuff. You can just focus more on like the craft and honing yourself. And eventually, if you don't like it, then you can quit and part ways and start your own thing. But I think I'm 25 years old. I just turned 25. But like, I think for people in their 20s and stuff, it's like finding what you love to do and finding people who are willing to mentor you. And eventually, you know, I think you'll learn much quicker, and then eventually you can freelance or whatever, but you don't right now I have nothing. Like if I were to freelance, I don't know where I would find my bread.
When I worked a 9-to-5 job, or 9-to-6, whatever people call it nowadays, but it was miserable for me. Like I loved it in the sense of this could be something new, right? But I guess because I was working in a tech startup, it's very different. Like your company's been around for years, right? I'm assuming
40.
Yeah, and so my company's been around for less than a year, and there's only like 6 of us, right? But you're in a company with how many? Like hundreds?
I think I saw on LinkedIn yesterday it's like 1,000 something globally.
Wow. You know what's crazy? Rhett and Link have been around since like the OG days. And it's so crazy. Now they got like 3 different shows or more, like Good Mythical Kitchen, yeah, and then Good Evening, Good Mythical Evening instead of Good Mythical Morning,
Yeah.
and so it's like an evening show, right? And so they have so many things, and they've never missed a day. Like they always
crazy.
upload those show times,
Yeah.
because it's a show. You can't just cancel, right? And so
Yeah.
they're so different. They're like an older generation of what YouTubers think now, because YouTubers, they can always just say technical difficulties, can't upload today, see you next week, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, but TV shows can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't. If you do, you're like genuinely like overlapped by someone else. Maybe you might not ever get that spot again. Like
Yeah.
there's so much. And anyways, but what I'm saying is like, they've only been around for like 10, 15 years, and they have that many employees. Like, I don't know how accurate it is, but yeah, for you and for like some other companies that have thousands of employees, I'm like, whoever's at top, I'm like, that sounds so difficult.
I mean, that's kind of why I do want to eventually move up and kind of learn, because like when you create, let's just say when you're freelance, you create your own thing. You want to, well, for me, my vision is always like, I want to be part of something bigger than myself. And if I wanted to create that on my own, like you'd have to structure everything the right way. Like you talk about logistically and creatively, like LLC tax, like strategies and stuff in order to survive. It's cutthroat, you know, like then it becomes like business strategy where like you're like disrupting a market, trying to get market share from like other, whatever people that are trying to do the same. And you kind of have to like see what currently works and then see how people do things, and then kind of maybe add your spin to it from your experiences. But yeah, I don't know. I just like learning, and I think wherever you find yourself, if it's in a corporate, like maybe like if I were maybe in your shoes, I probably would quit if I didn't like it.
I didn't quit. I was let go. Well, in some sense though, in my brain, I did want to be like let go, or I didn't want to quit on my friend, you know?
Yeah.
But I think it was for the better, because they ended up like changing the direction like in completely.
Yeah.
So, I mean, your company is more stable too. It's like, you know what the future is going to look like in 5 to 10 years for your company.
Defined mission statement.
Yeah.
And I think like I think you just have to evaluate where you work in a corporate setting.
Yeah.
Like every situation is different. Like
Yeah.
if that's what the company's about and you're with it, like might as well just be part of it. I mean, you're getting a nice paycheck. Like you don't have to worry about other stuff, and you can dabble and be curious. And
like I just met someone that works at Yelp, and I'm like, how are you creative at Yelp? Like, how do you be creative?
Yeah.
You know, and so you work at a agency, but you work for basically one of the biggest well-known athleisure, right? And it's Nike, and I can see you being creative in that sense, but like Yelp, how are you creative with Yelp? Can you think of something?
I don't know what their job is, but like
say they work in like corporate, and they do I want to say data analyzing. Like, how are you creative in data analysis?
I know for creatives that we work on brand side, like I think they could, like they usually make the brief, so like they know, let's just say their objective is to maybe like Yelp release this new feature, right? And then how do we tell the world about this new feature? Yeah. And make it something exciting and cool, and so then they can like write ways to capture the market. Like I think with any creativity, creativity can come in different mediums, whether it may be business, even corporate setting. I think when you're good at something, you just make art at the end of the day because you make it look so easy. Yeah. Like it doesn't necessarily need to be like videos, TikTok or Instagram, like content creators. I think they're creating content, but like you can be creative in like freaking olive oil, you know, like infusing it with different herbs. I feel like it's such an open.
You say herbs with the H?
Herbs.
I say it with
How
the
do
H.
you say herbs?
I say herbs.
Herb.
Like herb and cheese. Cheese and herbs. Yeah. Anyways, sorry.
Yeah. So I think creativity can come in so many ways, and people can. You can even be a techie creative, like you're writing code in startup and creating a new app. Yeah. That's still making something.
That's honestly insane to me because like when I talk to people that do like data, like input and like they work with Excel and all that stuff, and I'm just
Yeah.
like, how is this creative?
Yeah.
But then someone told me like there are so many ways you can do this, and it's
Yeah.
like math is actually very creative, right?
Oh,
Like
100%.
you can get A plus B equals C, right? But then you can break down how like A plus 2 plus B plus 4 equals C, right? And so there's
Yeah.
multiple properties, theories, right? Like, so I'm just like, dang, like
Yeah.
math can get very unique. And so I realized that some teachers are like, even learning, like there's so many different ways that different like countries learn like how to do this same exact problem, right? There's the most simplest one was 9 times tables. Everyone knows their 9. I hope everyone knows their 9
Like
times
9
tables.
times 1, 9 times 2.
Yeah,
3,
yeah.
4,
And
yeah.
so like when you do it in your brain, you kind of just know, right? At this point, it's like 9, 18, 27, right?
Yeah.
Do you know the finger method of how people learn 9 times method?
No.
Okay, so it's literally like, okay, sorry, okay, 9. I can't do. Okay, this is 9, right?
Yeah.
How do I do it in order? Let me do it in a.
You
Okay,
gotta
I'm
show
just gonna
the
put.
hands.
I'm just
Yeah.
gonna put the pinky down. Okay, so this is 9, right?
Yeah.
What is 9 times?
2, 18.
Yeah, 2. So this is 8 and 1 at the very end. This is
Oh.
2 and this is 7.
That's cool.
Yeah, and this is 3 and 6, right? Like
Okay.
sorry, yeah, it's 3 and 6, and it goes all the way.
That's pretty creative.
And I was like, what? Like, that is the easiest way to like physically remember the 9
Yeah.
times table, right? And
You know,
so
I didn't know my left and right as well until like you can hold it up like this and you're
Yeah.
like, this is a L, so this is my left hand.
yeah, and it's just like even the smallest things like that, like people know, right, and remember. And so like for me, I used to go when people say like make a right, so people normally do this, right?
Yeah.
I used to do this. Yeah. So like if you're, say we're driving together like this way, right?
Yeah.
And then I literally go, oh, make a right.
Did
You know how many people got mad at me for that? But that's just how I think, because it's
you get that from your
convenient.
parents?
No, it's just convenient for
Yeah.
me to like point right with my left hand. Because no one goes
Oh.
this. This is so inconvenient. Like just go right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and
weird quirks.
It's weird quirks, yeah, but it's so interesting to me that like some people actually understood that more. Like,
Yeah.
and like when people say go left, and when they see me use my right hand, they assume that like I'm telling them left when I use my right hand, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, some people get me, and it's all these like weird different ways that people think, and that's what I really love about freelance. It's like you are learning pretty much everything from scratch. There's no formula. There's no person guiding you. There can be. You can get mentors
Yeah.
and people that like you work under in different different gigs and whatnot. But that's what I see in the beauty of freelance. And I'm sure you've had your fair share, because you did freelance for how many years before you started working?
I was kind of in college. It was flexible, but
Yeah.
I kind of knew I needed to be in a corporate setting. It's almost like, yeah.
Do you see yourself going back to freelance eventually?
I think it depends. I think I'd probably stay corporate until I don't see eye to eye with something, and then maybe break it off. Cause, yeah, I think like freelance is meant for. I feel like in order to make freelance work, it's almost like entrepreneurship in freelancing. It's just hard, maybe because like it's just subjective for people. Like I don't know what other people might be going through, or people younger, but it's just more of like, what are you passionate about first? And then you're like inching closer and then putting more effort into it. And maybe if it's not, then you just redirect and find something. Freelance is a great way to, I feel like, try different things. But I like being in like a corporate job if I feel as much as a freelancer, you know?
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it depends where you work. Like
Yeah.
I love where I work, and yeah, and you can always find money, like side hustles, you know? You can freelance outside of your main job.
Are you side hustling right now? Kind of?
No, not really. At first I wanted to, but like I think I'm kind of in a pause. So like I'm just trying to explore like travel more, because I think that's opening my eyes a lot more. And then eventually I'd love to have a side baby, you know, like just figuring it out. Like I've always had that entrepreneurship spirit. I feel like the fire has dwindled a little bit, but I just don't know what. Yeah, like...
Yeah.
And I don't want to be like making stuff and tearing it down, but at the same, yeah, I haven't found something that I'm super passionate about. Like my job is kind of what my freelance became my main gig.
Got it. You've been here for about a year now, right?
In
Oregon.
At the company that I work for.
Yeah. So do you see a big life change in some sense? Like, because you're in college, right? And then you got a job.
Yeah.
But like, do you feel yourself, like as a different person now? Because you're like, oh, I am still creative. I work in a corporate job. Or like, you know, when you're freelance, you're open-minded a lot more in some sense of like, I could do anything.
Yeah.
But right now you're open-minded still, but like, in one direction at the moment, right? I
still very feel like open-minded. Like,
so you still feel like a freelancer?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's companies out there that like still, you know, that still cultivate that energy and that like,
yeah,
like it's not like a cubicle where like, you know, not all jobs are like corporate, what people imagine. Like I didn't go into finance. I can imagine that as like very corporate and stuff, but
would you ever?
Finance, you know, I've always thought about like going to like getting my MBA and stuff, but like to be honest, I don't think my heart would be in it. But it is very fascinating. Like I love like watching those Vice videos, and specifically international business. I think like to navigate all of that, like it's an art in itself.
Oh yeah. You know, like I recently thought about going back to school.
For what?
Politics. It's crazy.
You need to go to school for that? Actually, well, how?
Yeah, like for example, like you know how when kids, or at least back in the day, right, kids would be like, I want to be the president, right?
Yeah.
There's no way you can be like a college dropout and be a president. I don't think it's possible, at least in this era, but I could see it eventually changing, right? Like for example, who knew YouTube would exist, right? Who knew YouTube would be an occupation and become one of the most like successful jobs, right? And now all these, you know, tech startups. And so there's many ways you can get into so many different fields, right? But then if you want to be a doctor, you have to go to school, right?
Yeah.
I believe there are some countries that you don't have to like pass, or you don't have to have like a college education, but you can take the MCAT or whatever, you know, basically those like tests, and you could still be a doctor, right? But traditionally you have to finish like, you know, education in order to get into these occupations. And so right now, if you were to say like, oh, there's a president like candidate right now, there's a candidate for a president, would you choose someone that went to university or didn't? Right? Like, what is your thoughts on that? Like, you would choose most likely the person.
Yeah, I feel like it's just image. Like, people have to sell you.
Yes.
Like, I feel like as a president, you're kind of like the face, the face. But there's so many people behind that are moving shit that you're just repeating. Yeah. Like there's so much deep stuff behind it.
Yeah.
It's almost like Hollywood. Like, I mean, actors, they're more well-known and stuff, but there's so many people behind the scenes that are moving stuff around. Like NBA players, like it's the owners that are moving stuff around, not
the basketball players.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, both parts are essential, right?
Exactly. Like, they're both essential, but I mean, they're paying these NBA players based off of like revenue. Yeah. So that there's a lot more money on top.
Yeah. And so like,
and influence.
I think if I get into politics, like if I wanted to be the mayor of a city, like, not that I will be, but if I really wanted to, I would have to go to education, at least for now. Like, but maybe not in my lifetime, that perspective might change. Because even at the moment, like most parents, I want to say, I don't know the actual statistics, but from my peers, every adult is like, you have to go to college, right? And like, in order to be successful, you have to go to college.
Dropped out?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know that?
No.
Yeah, I dropped out 2015, 15.
I mean, can you just make a degree?
Can't I just make a degree?
I mean, just a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what I
Get
did.
a graphic designer.
No, that's what I did.
Yeah.
I had to lie to my parents. But there are so many stories now, and it's very rare, but people live a good life without a college degree.
Oh,
You know?
100%. I don't even think about my degree. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What is your degree?
Computer science.
Oh,
I
yeah.
wanted to become a software engineer.
Oh, yeah. I remember. And then you just like completely like went.
Doors just kind of opened up.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think whenever you're passionate about, others can see that passion, and like they'll, you know, people want to help you if you help yourself.
That's what I saw in you.
Yeah.
Because like, even though you're not like much younger or anything, but the amounts of passion you had to go out, film, and like, you know, learn, and then coloring, I was like, oh, this guy's gonna go places.
Yeah.
Because it's passion, like has so much more potential than like anything else, right?
Yeah. And it's like the willingness to like be scrappy, humble yourself, and learn from others. And you like, no matter corporate or freelance, like, because we're talking about that topic, like people will help you along the way. And it's like you just have to be around the right people to help you, but to be constantly like, kind of eat shit. Like, it's like Patrick Beverly, like he's willing to do the dirtiest, like board man gets paid.
Yeah.
Like you just do everything, and then eventually like, but yeah, passion. I feel like that's the more important part.
Yeah, I like, for example, the guy that you saw earlier, his name's Tan, right? And so like, he's a college student, graduating in 1 or 2 more quarters.
Yeah.
And then in computer science, but he loves like film, like he's been going on set and stuff. Yeah. But I don't think he has passion, right? So it's very different from you two, right? And it's not that he doesn't have it yet. He hasn't discovered his passion, right? Like, for what he wants to do. And it seems like it might be like into something else at least, right? Like he has no interest in wanting to learn how a camera works. Maybe he does. I haven't asked him, but like, but you, it's like you showed passion about these specific things, right? And that's where like, I almost feel like sometimes when people have enough passion, you're willing to like invest, right? And so like, they're like the startups, right? Like a lot of things I've learned in startup life is people don't believe in the project. People believe in the person. Yeah. Yeah. And that's crazy to me, because it's like people aren't, I guess there's no like logic in some sense. It's very unstable, emotions, life can happen.
That's the
right?
scary part of like all of that stuff, because we're humans, we flaw. Like it's always like you get an idea and you're like so into it, and then later you can convince everyone and you dream about it, like and then after a couple months it's like, where did that go? Yeah. And so time will test.
Yeah. And I think that's fine. Like a lot of people, I just lost my train of thought. But yeah, I would say like it's so crazy to me that people are willing to like nowadays try stuff and then not do it right after once it doesn't work, right? And so like
sticking with yeah.
And so that's
sticking
why
with your
in some sense
passions.
corporate, right? Like corporate, you don't have to be passionate about it, but it's gonna be stable. It's gonna be there for unless like recession and stuff happens, right? Like that's one thing I was like actually afraid of for you. I think you messaged me like out of the blue a couple months back, and then that was when like housing market kind of went down and it was just insane. And so I was like, oh, did you lose your job? Because so many people got laid off. Like, and were you afraid at that time? You're just like, oh, it's not going to affect me.
No, I mean, I knew like even in a corporate setting, I still kept that fire, like I like with the whole working remote, like I'm like, I can't work remote. Like I need mentorship. I need to be hands-on. Like, and so I went in the office like almost every day. Wow. Like, and I felt like as if like, and I had people around me that were willing to meet me where I was too. Wow. And so I've been able to learn a lot in such a short amount of time, and like getting your reps in and like meeting people and stuff. And I think that'll eventually separate myself from like the rest of it's a generational thing, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Wow.
it's hard. I don't know. So it's like even if I got laid off, it's gonna be harder for them emotionally to lay them off. It's gonna hurt harder for them. I don't know. It's like maybe there's a book like Be So Good that I forgot what was it called, but yeah.
It's not easy to let people go. I've let off maybe like a few employees like that work with me, and I'm like it's not financially or anything. It's just more like it was for me. It was more like they don't fit what I expect them to do, right? And it's a learning curve. My expectations have been changing here and there, but like I felt so bad. Like I felt almost responsible, right? And so in return, like I still want to be there for them. And so if there's another alternative route that they can go, I would love to look into it to help them, right?
Yeah.
But then like I remember when my previous like boss let me go and he was like, this sucks and you know it's coming, right? I'm like, yeah, but it's okay. Like I literally try to make it so easy for him because I know what it's like. And I was like, it's okay. Just like, I know what's going to happen. I'm at a good place. So don't feel like you letting me go is going to like really, really hurt me.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I hope you never get there, man. That feeling is the worst. But I
kind of want to, so then I can just go travel and
Yeah.
move to Vietnam or something.
Yeah, how do you travel and work at the same time? Like, you know, do you plan it out very well in the future of like, oh, this month I need to go out and like explore, so I'm going to take days off. Like, how does that work for you?
So the company I work at has a limited PTO.
Nice. As always.
And always like it's project based. So then usually it's like, I just plan it after the project ends, you know, and you can plan so much. I think in a corporate setting, like since you're working with a lot more people, like you have to be very communicative, have things in writing. So then it's like, hey, like, you know, like I'm requesting these days off, like just to give you a heads up, you know, like, and that's the same stuff you need to do as a freelancer too. If you're working with other people and you're trying to build stuff with that's bigger than yourself, I think you always have to be very communicative. Yeah, that's about it. And then, but I've only been on one trip so far, but I'm just trying to do better and planning more.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah. I almost think of like freelancing is like think about basketball. Like you're playing pickup basketball versus organized basketball. Like I feel like I'd rather pick someone who played in an organized league and knows how to play the right way versus like someone who plays pickup. But then eventually that like, or, you know, after once you get experience, that's free game. Like, you know, you can do whatever you want to do after you know how to play the game.
That's a good way to put it. I would say I have more fun watching someone that plays pickup because, you know, in traditional like training, like basketball, they're good, but like someone that plays pickup, it's like, are they good or are they bad or what do they super excel at or what do they really lack, right? And so obviously you can do that in the NBA and whatnot, but like I love watching The Professor.
Oh yeah,
like
Bone Collector as well.
Yeah, and you can't get that anywhere else.
Yeah,
you can't. They break so many rules in the NBA, obviously, but it's so amazing to watch like non-traditional because you've seen it before, right? But I guess there's some people that excel at it like crazy, right? Like Steph Curry, right? Who the heck in the world shoots a 3-pointer from like, I don't know, like a few foot off the line and just like looks away and he knows he made, like, that's absurd, you know? But the amount of like training he's been put through is like insane. And so same thing with The Professor, like I've seen his one like live.
Yeah.
And man, that guy is just like, he's drilled so much, but in so many different ways, right? Like his famous one is when he like dribbles in Spider-Man, right? He dribbles and he uses his knees and like everything. Obviously that's all illegal, but like he's done it so many times. He knows how the opponent's gonna react and he adapts that, right? And he like always puts it between the legs. Like that's so crazy, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I prefer watching that over NBA like any day.
I'm an NBA guy. I want to be LeBron.
Okay, I would say like when I watch basketball though, like
do you watch basketball now?
Not as much anymore. I did watch a little bit more when I was in college, obviously just to fit in, but like It was never like, oh, I'm a diehard NBA fan. I've gone to like courtside games and I'm just like,
Nice.
I would say like, oh, I'm falling asleep.
I haven't been courtside. I'd love to be courtside.
Yeah, I've gone to like a lot of Clipper games. I've gone to a few Lakers, but like honestly, I'd rather be home watching Netflix than NBA.
Dang.
But the experience of it is fun. Like I
Yeah.
appreciate it, and I love the people I go with. Yeah. But I'm not a diehard.
Yeah.
I'd rather watch. I think I'd rather watch like K-pop concerts. To be honest, I went to my first K-pop concert and I was like, whoa, like.
Is it your Korean identity within you just like...
I forget that it's Korean.
You forget you're Korean
No,
sometimes?
I forget that's Korean, like K-pop. Because K-pop is just so nationally
true.
like known now, right?
Yeah.
I just call it pop at this point.
K-pop is really cool because like I look at it, it's like very like it's a skill, like it's literally like a sport. I don't know, it's crazy.
When they perform, have you ever been to a K-pop concert?
I have not.
Okay. When they perform, it is crazy. Because again, like it's on like imagine the entire like film set, right? Like the actor gets all the attention, but the amount of production that goes behind it, the setup, the planning, the tickets, right? Like obviously there's so much more, but then like the performance, man, I think it's more difficult than like film performing actors. Like they're hustling, they have to put a smile on, they've practiced these routines. And you know, this might be a hot take, but yeah, like I think Korean like K-pop, like people appreciate it a lot because it's actually that difficult.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And to sing that well under that pressure of performing and dancing, right? Like you're literally doing three things at once, and at the end of it, when they finish their song, they do a little talk. Like, yeah, they say like, "Oh, hello everyone, my name is."
Post game interview.
Yeah, kind of. Or not even post game. It was like mid game interview, right?
Yeah.
And so like, it's like crazy. They're not like, they're like calm, but like I remember like so many people in the dance industry. They're like after they perform one, they're like, I'm like, dude, these girls like literally like have so much like repetition that it's not bothering them anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's where I'm like, I give mad respect because I could never do something like that. Yeah.
K-pop star.
And on top of that, they have to like have a good image. They work out, right? Like, so it's not just like one thing they have to perform, right? It's like they have to maintain it until And what was difficult was during the pandemic, right? Like they can't perform, so they don't get any reactions. They're just releasing songs and like hoping it's good.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people have said like they learn more performing from the audience because they realize like, oh, this is the course that they love the most, right? And I'm like, dang, like.
Yeah.
Now that you've worked a year in corporate and you have this like mindset of, you know, like I enjoy this, I'm gonna do this. If you can go back in time, right? Like, and this is a general question. I don't know if people have asked you, but if you can go back in time to like, say, high school, and tell yourself, hey, like, do X, Y, and Z, what would you tell them?
I think I would keep it the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Because like you went to school for engineering at USC, right? And so it's like, wouldn't you rather want to learn other things?
I think going to school for computer science, like I think it taught me how to think, and like I still use like those lessons learned in college.
Really?
Like automation, writing scripts. There's software people that are writing the programs that we all use, right? And so if you learn like deeper into the intent of these engineers, you can tame the horse, like you control it. Like, for example, like, I don't know, this I don't want to go too deep off topic, but like the new AI tools like ChatGPT or DALL-E, I don't know, that's like kind of exactly. Like if you know how to hone that technology, it can just make whatever you do much better.
Yeah.
So I don't regret it at all because I think life is like full of lessons, and I've taken those lessons and just used it for the next experience.
Yeah.
And that's why work experience.
That's pretty amazing. Like I will say a lot of engineers, they think so differently. they think logical but creatively.
Yeah.
And it's because they know what their tools can do, right? And I've seen, like, for example, a flathead screwdriver, right? Like the most basic tool you can ever use for like many things. But I've seen people use it to like insert and then crack it open, right? And like, I'm just like, you're right. Like these tools can be used for so many things we just don't know, and we haven't seen it or been influenced around it. And so I almost feel like engineers have these tools now of what they've learned in the books or playing around with programs and creating things, right? And it's like solving a problem in different formats, right? It's like math again, right? Like we're coming back to that. And so that's cool. I'm glad you think that. Most people don't think that.
Because one thing that I learned in comp sci, like they have, so like one thing, I think it's like efficiency or something. Like that's why you see like your algorithms become faster, because you're condensing the code. Like when the computer does all these computations, you're kind of writing code in a way that like simplifies it, and it's just like you're shaving nanoseconds, but then in large scale, you're saving so much time
exponentially.
Exactly. So then how I like to think is the efficiency. Like, how can I make this efficient so that the next person doing the job or whatever I ask them, like has the proper tools and can do it fast, you know, and also like taking your time. And so I'm not, you know, like it's just finding ways to make other people's lives easier as well. Wow. Yeah, I don't know. I've taken a lot of lessons, so I kind of don't regret it.
You really like you keep coming back to this idea of like not reinventing the same wheel, you know, like it's amazing. A lot of people don't think like that. A lot of people want like, I don't know how to explain it, but a lot of people do tend to not want to make it easier for the next person because it's like they have to go through it, right? Or something. And I'm just like, I guess there are certain things that I want like people to go through, but it's like, why are we dealing with the same problem over and over and over, right? And so things can change, and that's great. That's good to hear. I personally have met so many people that wish they didn't go to college, right? Or a lot of people say like, I don't use my degree. Yeah. And you know what's funny? So many people tell this to me, and this might be a little off track, but a lot of people say, I introduce myself and I say like, oh, I actually didn't graduate college. And they're like, oh, that's fine. And I'm like, what? Like, why are you saying it's a bad thing? You know, right? And I think people have this perspective, or maybe thinking that like dropping out of college is embarrassing, right? And so like when people react like that and say what they have to say about, I'm just kind of like, wow, like, you pity me? And I'm like, I get kind of offended in not in a mean way, but I'm just like, wow, like I guess this person's so like tunnel visioned and like, oh, you know, school is the better way, which is probably true for most things, right? Like, so I don't blame them for how they think, but like I know also a lot more people that are doing what they're supposed to be doing, but not happy. Right. And so I think that's what's amazing about you right now, at least from what I'm seeing, is that you're happy of what you've gone through and you're still kind of utilizing everything you've put. You're not, life is like, how do I explain this? Life is like you're dealt with cards and you have to learn how to use them. Right. But some people complain about like, oh, I don't have the best cards, blah, blah, blah. And like, dude, like
play poker.
Yeah.
Like, get 2 pairs.
Yeah, it's
Take
life.
The pot home. Yeah,
it's life, and you can win with the highest card, right, or something like. Yeah. But people just don't realize and don't know how to play the game in some sense. Yeah. And so you seem to like have a really good mindset on your own of just like, oh, I was given this life, I'm gonna use it, and I'm happy with it. Right. That's good. And mental health wise, are you okay? Yeah,
I think I'm pretty good. I mean,
because it's Portland.
I mean, the weather gets you, man. I think that's the one thing. Yeah, the weather does get to me. At first, I was like, it's just mindset. But no, dude, it's the weather. So that means I would have to do a better job at like getting out, taking more trips in sunny places. But I feel like everyone in the Pacific Northwest are like feels that, you know, like met some people in Vancouver, like they felt the same thing.
Yeah. I have a question then, like, because I've lived in London for a little bit, and like whenever it's sunny, people go out. Like,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
in the parks, like it's filled.
I love seeing. Yeah.
Okay, so it's the same in Portland then.
Yeah, it's the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, you appreciate it more. I think LA, it's like everything's the same.
Yeah. So like when you go to parks here, sunny or not, no one's there.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. I love that because you find appreciation to the little things, and it's like this, like such a sunny day today, and I want to go out and like live life, but like no one else wants to, so it kind of like motivates you not wanting to. Yeah, it sucks, but it's life. I enjoy LA. I'm not gonna talk bad about it because every state, every place you go to has like
pros and cons.
Yeah. So mental health wise, like jokes aside from the weather, like are you okay? Because I know a lot of people in this industry that work corporate, their mental health isn't great because they aren't doing what they love, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm doing well. I think I'm just going through like normal stuff, like figuring out purpose, life, what's next, like any normal 20-something-year-old person would think about and figure out life stuff. But yeah, and I also but saying with a grain of salt, like I also feel like just because my parents came here, first generation, like it's a different mindset. So then it's like I'm trying to, while I'm trying to figure things out, I'm trying to figure out like, is this depression or something, or stop being a bitch and just, yeah. So like, but overall I'm doing pretty well.
That's good. It's a tough world out there in corporate, man. Like a lot of people don't have the privilege to also choose of what they want to do. You know, I think you told me before your parents own a nail salon.
Yeah.
Right. And it's just like your parents worked hard so that you could do what you want to do. Right. And maybe you didn't have a choice, or maybe you did, to be an engineer. Right.
Yeah.
And then this is the question I wanted to dive into, which kind of relates. Were your parents okay with you not doing computer science?
They didn't have a choice. I got into it, like, they were busy working, so they didn't have time to monitor my status.
Oh, that choice.
I think that's kind of nice, but at the end of it's your life, you know what I mean? Like, your parents, that's their choice to take care of you, but you're supposed to take that, like, thank you, but like Ariana Grande, thank you, next.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so like they didn't really have a say, and like I think whatever you do, as long as you're passionate about it and find what you love, like you'll make money, and if you put time into it. Otherwise, you're an idiot for like, how do you spend 10 years doing something and you still suck at it?
Yeah,
like that's means
you really didn't care.
Exactly. Or like, I don't know in history if someone spent that long and failed at something, like, you know, if you're passionate about it.
I know some people that have done like something for 10 years and then they switch jobs completely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I wouldn't say they failed at it though.
Yeah. It's not like switching it's like a lateral move. It's not like you're,
yeah.
But yeah, that's how I thought. Like in anything, like I think growing up in LA teaches you that whatever you're passionate about, you'll find money. Like people will pay you to do it. Like freaking in LA, like, you know, people are clowns out here, man, and they make a killing. Yeah. Like who knew like you can make a lot of money as a magician.
Yeah.
You know, like I think LA is full of dreamers, and I think that's something that I like. I'm glad that LA showed me. It's like whatever you want to do, like you can make money from it. Just
there's some unique people. Like I don't know. I don't even think I've scratched the surface of how many interesting people there are in LA, and like even more outside, right? Like you know what's crazy? I actually think LA is just a hub. Like it brings people. It is. But the most creative, unique people that are passionate are the ones that are not in LA.
Yeah, they're not from LA. They move here.
Yeah. You know, like a lot of YouTubers are not from LA.
Yeah.
And like Logan Paul, Ohio. Steven Lim, Ohio. Guava Wasabi Productions, North Carolina.
It's the weather, man. It's all in the weather.
Yeah,
that's the secret sauce.
No, it's the amount of boredom there is in a different state, I think, and so they just don't care what they do. They want to do something, whatever they want to do, that's fun to them, and they just do it, right? And so it's like you can see the genuineness of that. And what I might honestly get like a lot of hate from this, but who cares? LA people that want to do YouTube, I'm just like, you're only doing it because you see the image of like what it is, and it's okay. Like, I think people wanting to do YouTube and like be a face of something like acting, like, do it. Like, it's hard. It's so hard.
So hard.
I want you to prove me wrong that I think you're just trying to be a basic LA person, right?
Yeah.
And I'm speaking to myself too, because I was born and raised in LA, and I wanted to do YouTube since I was like 5th grade, so like 9 years old.
Yeah.
And like I met Wong Fu then, right? And so I was like, oh my gosh, wait, I don't even think YouTube existed when I was like that age, right? And so I've wanted to do it for so long, but I have had so many people tell me like, oh, YouTube, you make videos? What are you gonna do for your real job, right? Like, I don't know if you've ever got that comment before, but I remember going to church, and my pastor, my main like someone you look up to, right? Mm-hmm. Said like, you want to make YouTube videos for a living? That's stupid. Like, you know how heartbreaking that moment is? But I wanted to prove him more wrong like than ever, because I was like, this is something I love. I love YouTube. I love enjoying entertainment. I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be a camera guy, but I want to be around entertainment.
Yeah.
Right. And I didn't even look at views or anything. It's just like when you watch someone like Ryan Higa or Kev Jumba, you laugh, right? And you're like, this is like probably the best thing you've ever can relate to or something, right? And so I think a lot of people have a hard time, like going back to the family stuff, like hard time having a privilege to do what they want to do, right? Like, so that's why like there are probably so many people that work in the finance or corporate world, and they want to be an actor. They want to be an artist, a ceramics person, right? But they can't because it's not sustainable yet, maybe, or it's too difficult, or it's too competitive, right? I know a lot of people in the acting industry leave LA because it's too competitive, and so they do it in Atlanta, New York, right? And so it's a crazy world out here, and I think what I like to always mention is like, is this something you love, like genuinely? Like, put aside all the thoughts and outside factors in you, and like, do you love it?
I do. I mean, that's kind of, I think living in Oregon for the past year and living with myself, like, all noise is blocked. Like, when I'm at home, it's just like crickets.
Do you ever get lonely?
I do. In the beginning, it was hard, but after you learn how to live with yourself and you learn more about yourself, and like, I love producing. Like, I think it's a blend of like being technical, being communicative, being creative as well.
Yeah.
Because you're dealing with budgets and stuff, and also you have to make sure that those budgets translate to something creative, and then being communicative, you have to know what it is to be technically, so that you can talk to the people that you're asking them to do. And so I think it's like a perfect intersection between like all of these certain skills. And you know, you're not the best at it, but you're constantly working and you're learning along the way. Like, you might not know everything, but you know who to rely on and kind of people's skills. Yeah. So I genuinely love kind of producing and kind of what I'm doing. Yeah. And slowly I could see myself loving like more, I guess you would consider them corporate jobs, more like managerial or like business. Cause like when I was at SC, I studied business, and like strategy was so like intriguing. Like, you know, like YouTube is like a disruptor in the market, right? Like, they're all traditional businesses, and how they ebb and flow. I think that, like, you know, like that's also higher level thinking as well.
You know, like the whole passion thing we were talking about, it's like, I forgot what he said. I think it was Casey Neistat, but he said like, you do it because it's a passion. If you do it for money, then you're not going to get anywhere. Or it was like, if you're doing it for any other reason, then it's not a true passion. Like, you do it because you genuinely love it. And the ending quote was like, you make a living by doing what you love. Yeah. Then like, if it's any other way, it's not it. And like, it's true. Like, I've seen people do crochet and make a living off of it.
it kind of goes back. I mean, similar to how we met. Like I was in a stage where I was doing everything for free.
Yeah,
you know, like nobody in this world owes you anything. Like you just do it for free, and eventually, like I don't know, for some weird reason, money comes your way because you're like, oh yeah, like I always like still would do things for free if I was like passionate about something.
Yeah.
And that shows your relationship with money. Money doesn't control you.
Yeah, money controls so many people though. Like, I'm not gonna call out some people, but there are some people in the industry that like, you know, work and they're like, yeah, they underpay. It's like, then why are you working it?
Yeah.
Right? Like, if you don't want to work it, then don't work it. Like, you should know your own value, respect yourself.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, maybe they won't have any options, and so they just take what they can. But it's like, then don't complain, right? Like, you should be grateful for like just any opportunity if you don't have any options, right?
Either learning or earning.
Yeah, literally. And so like, it sucks, you know. Like I think I grew up, you know, with first generation parents, and so like they same thing. They're so busy. They had no clue what I was interested in, and I was just like kind of like making films for church. And
as long as you're fed, that's it. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
And they don't like
most.
Yeah.
It depends. Like I know a lot of wealthy families, like they spend all their time focusing on like molding their children, but they mold it so much that like doesn't give them a chance to let them rest and kind of like, I guess, like shape themselves, right?
Yeah.
And so it's tough, you know. Like I think you and I had that privilege, even though we weren't the wealthiest family. Like I'll be honest, you and my parents, like they come from like a general job that doesn't make over like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right? And so we're on that like, I guess, spectrum of, I want to say middle low class, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so we're privileged to know that money does matter, but it shouldn't affect us, right? And it's hard though. It's really hard because I think a lot of this world, being in the creative industry, you want to be perceived as successful, right? Because like you said, you enjoy the stability, you love the income and whatnot. So it does play a part, but I think most people, they get carried away with it, and so some people even like try to fake it till they make it. I actually don't think people should be doing that. Like, I get it. Like, if you finesse your way in, like, all props to you. Like, great job. But that means you've either like used someone along the line.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that.
No.
I've tried. And it's so painful for me. Like, I remember I was like, oh, I don't deserve this job.
What are
so
some
I quit.
shitty things that people have done?
What are some
Shady things
like shady stuff?
Yeah.
I don't even know. Like, people would just brag about like all their success and wealth, and then like when they say they want to work with you, like they don't really pull through all the way.
I forgot. There's one quote that I learned from. It was like, I think, the rich shout, but the wealth whispers, or something.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Man, I don't even know what it is, but like most new money wealthy people that I've encountered in LA, I don't know how to explain it, but they don't use their money wisely.
Yeah.
And it's fine. It's their own way of how they spend. Like, I'm not saying there's a proper way, but it's just not the way I would.
Yeah.
And so when we try to work together, it's not perceived the same. I would say like, I'm pretty comfortable right now.
Yeah.
But I'm still very frugal. I will like look on, like, to get all this equipment, I'd look online first, and then I gauge it off of like OfferUp, Facebook Marketplace. Yeah. And then if I can get it for cheaper, like, why not, right? But you know, I have to factor those things. Yeah.
It's frugal in this, but I still think those are skills, because like you're looking for value and how to get the most value out of something. Yeah. And then so even like when you're like, let's just say you scale and as you're getting older, right? Like you're still looking for value, but the numbers just at like, it's like 60,000 instead. Like, you know, they just grow bigger, but you're still looking for value.
I like that feeling of like you made 0 into 100 instead of $1 to 100, right?
Yeah.
Because the value of that, you just made it like 10, like
I remember back in college, like I had a group of friends, like they wouldn't buy a grill. They would, maybe the first grill they bought was like $15 off of like Facebook. Yeah. But in order to get a nicer grill, they would have to sell it and then upgrade to like the nicest stuff. Yeah. But they wouldn't put any money into it. And so like you take nice pictures, put it on Facebook Marketplace, like you sell that $15 grill that you bought for like 50, and then that 50 into 100. Yeah. And then you're like, wow, I got this propane grill for free. Yeah. But you got to put some sweat equity, or like it's cool because you learn how to do that and like grow something.
Have you seen Ryan Trahan's penny to Mr. Beast?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, so he basically delivers a penny to Mr. Beast, right? And you know Mr. Beast, I'm assuming. Okay. I know you're off the grid, but I don't know how off the grid you are. But basically he has a penny, and he like goes out on the streets and like draws and like has a pen or something, and he tries to sell the pen or draw his draw and sell the drawing. And then he'll get like $5, $10, whatever, use that money to buy water bottles, water bottles, right? And then it goes up, and then he's like, finally I have enough to like apply for Uber Eats biking, right? And so he does that, and then
that's cool.
He works his way up to getting a ticket, and so he buys a bike with that money and buys a ticket to a plane ticket to North Carolina, but sorry, not all the way to, he like goes to Vegas first, goes somewhere else, and constantly, right? And so it's so insane. The trip was like the whole thing was like in 30 days, and every day he made a video, and he was showing that he made 30 videos that got 250 million views with just a penny, a mic, and a phone, and sometimes a DSLR, depending on the scenario, right? And then he spent literally that, right? And obviously he has editing and all this other stuff, whatever. Like, who knows what goes behind the scenes? But he didn't spend that much. You saw the entire process, right?
Yeah.
The difference was that Mr. Beast spent $3 million making Squid Games, and he got 250 million views, right? So like, I personally think like, wow, Ryan really showed like how much money or how much you can get done with just such little money, right? Yeah. But then you can also do cool things like with Mr. Beast. So it's like everyone tries to think like you have to have this in order to make this, right? But like, I honestly think like because we became like, or not we became, we are a like first generation,
like like-minded, coming from the similar backgrounds.
Yeah, because I don't know if you know, but I always knew you were pretty humble, like in the sense of, not once even in this conversation you've like talked about like what exactly you do, and you don't need to, because like you know what you do and you want to prove that like your work through your work, and like you're proud of it, right? And it's also not fully your image.
Yeah, it takes a village. Like there's like hundreds, and like just be a part of it. That's all I wanted, and I'm done. Like,
and it's like, it's not all you, right? Yeah. Like a lot of people like to say like, I did this is what I did for sound, this is what I did for this short film, right? And people like to take credit where they probably don't deserve, right? And if you want to, like, by all means, if it works, great. But like, I don't know, I feel like work will like we mentioned, work will show. And there are some people that are really amazing at what they do, and they don't need to like sell it, right? And I think when I first met you, like you were like, you asked so many questions to the point where like, well, not to me specifically, but it was the right questions because you were just curious, right? And you might have got rejected, and people might have thought you were lame, not knowing or whatever, but you didn't care. Yeah. Right? You just like went for it, right? And then moving to Portland, right? I'm sure you maybe asked a few people if I should do this or take this or not.
I kind of didn't.
You didn't? Okay, that's even better, right? And like most people do, right? But, your mindset was like, this is here for me. It sounds like a golden opportunity. I shouldn't let like all these other freelancers or all these other people that don't know who I am affect my decision. So I'm just going to trust myself and go. Because I think you just had a good head, like on your shoulders, like really knowing what to do. That's one thing why like I'm still willing to like chat with you. I think I've met a lot of people, and I kind of know where their heart is. I'm not saying they're a bad person, right? It's more of this like, did they grow enough to fit in with my characteristics and morals and whatnot and perspective in life? And if not, like, it's fine. Like, I'm not saying I'm perfect. But I think it was like, definitely like you, and there's a few other people, like even Benson's a lot older than us.
He's
but like
having people to look at and like recognizing good role models. I think they make the hugest difference.
Yeah. And he's actually, he doesn't seem open-minded, but he's actually pretty open-minded.
Yeah.
And
he's
like,
smart.
Yeah. And I think it all comes down to like, how kind you are and how much you were taught by like life and your parents and family, like how to treat people, and that, whatever you do reflects on what you do. Right. And so, and it's crazy because I feel like you've grown a lot since the last time I've talked to you. Yet you're still the same, as in like, you're very like, curious and starving, in the sense of like, you reached out to me, I think multiple times, like out of the blue, just like, oh, like you want to catch up sometime. I always wanted to, but timing, like I'm in a different country.
And we're both doing different things.
Yeah. But. And what's crazy though, I love that you keep trying. Like, it's not like you're like die hard trying, right? Obviously it's more in the sense of like, I still want to chat and see what happens. Like, and then you said like, oh, are you in town? Like, yeah, I'm in town now. Yeah. Right. So, most people, at least most people in my life at the moment, I see as like, when I reach out, they can reach out, and if they don't want to like follow up, I get it.
I kind of grew up like that. Like it's maybe this sounds kind of sad, but like I think growing up, since our parent, I don't know if this is for you, but my parents were always working, and like all the friends that I have, like I moved on a couple of friend groups a lot, but like most of my experiences has been me reaching out. Yeah. Like very rarely would a friend reach out, and it's kind of sad. But when I was smaller, or like when I was younger, like I would get butthurt, to be honest. But then after a while, I was just like, fuck it. If I wanted something, like I'd have to reach out. And that's pretty much how I got everything that I got. Like all the opportunities, I reached out to Benson. I reached out to like, like especially with Instagram and all these, you can send a DM.
It's so easy.
That's the least you could do. It's better than door knocking. So we have it good. And sending a message doesn't hurt. Like when I think about someone, I'm like, oh, wait, like, but now I think I'm learning to like, okay, let's plan something instead of like, hey, are you free right now? Like, I think it values other people's time much more, and shows that you're willing to meet them. Yeah.
People get jaded though. Like, for example, say you keep reaching out. Like, for example, I just told you like my instance with my friend, and you asked me, I'm like, no, I don't really see him anymore because, they don't respond, or they don't make the effort. Yeah. And, I have different expectations for different people. Like, for example, you and I, we're not like best buds, right? Yeah. But like, if we were, and you were always the one reaching out, it wouldn't be fair. It just isn't. Friendship and relationships are a two-way street. Yeah, by far. But like the fact that you're still willing to reach out to me, I was like, dang. But then like I always responded. There's some people I don't respond to because I'm like, oh, you're only reaching out because you want something, right? Yeah. And it's not like they're a bad person. It's just like I don't need that right now. Yeah. And like I'd rather help other things at the moment. Like I would love to help everyone as much as I can, but there's a limited amount of time in certain person's life, right? And I hope if me saying no isn't going to change your perspective, but I can't save them all. I can't help everyone, right? But yeah, that I appreciate that last, like, those last like times you I think you called me once, and I'm like, dude, I'm like out of town, like I can't pick up. Oh shoot, damn. Yeah. All right. And I'm not saying my time is like super valuable than other people. Like I'm just saying I personally respect my own time, and I know when to spend time with certain people. Like, and some certain people in my life don't bring joy in my life. And again, it's not because they're bad people. It's just we don't get along that well in that sense. Maybe like, for example, they could be my friend for entertainment, like clubbing and bars and who knows whatnot. Or they might be my friend from like back in the childhood days, and we could talk about life and any event. Yeah. Right. So there's so many different things. And yeah, you definitely like, it caught me off guard, like the multiple times you've like hit me up saying like, yo, you free? Like, you want to catch up? And I think you wanted to catch up before you left.
Yeah.
I couldn't. I think I was like timing didn't work out because I already left before you.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And yeah, that's impressive because I do that too. Like, I reached out so much. Like, until this day, I still do quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I guess as you get older, it becomes more exhausting, I would say.
It does. But you find your people, like, who you like to be around, and
Yeah.
and even if it's just like one catching up for one day, like that's still enough. And just to make sure everyone's still like, you know, keep each other in check sometimes. Like, you're like, are you staying true to yourself?
Yeah.
Or like what, you know?
Yeah.
And
Or-
you learn
yeah.
from people older and
Yeah.
that have gone through different things.
Yeah. I'm only a year older than you. Like, I just turned 26.
Yeah,
so,
but I mean, your experiences are much different from mine. And I think like,
vice versa.
yeah, so then we could learn a lot from each other.
Yeah.
And even mingling with older people, like
Yeah.
that are, yeah.
You know
learn
what's
so much.
crazy? And we can end it here, but yeah, I saw you as an artist more than a corporate worker. So I could never
Yeah.
see you in a corporate job.
I'm
but
still
I guess
doing art. I'm making art.
yeah. So
sells.
so what's crazy is like the fact that you found something corporate gives me hope that not all corporate jobs are not meant for
Yeah.
on freelance. So that makes me like, oh, maybe I could go back to corporate one day.
Yeah. It just
But I
depends on the place.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's so much opportunity out there, and I'm just probably being close-minded about corporate jobs, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate everything. You reaching out and even coming down here.
Yeah.
So until next time, I don't know when that'll be because I'm obviously traveling in Europe in the Portland, but thanks for coming out here. Appreciate you coming. Like,
Thanks for having me.
driving
Yeah.
down and
I've never been
staying
on
in
this
contact.
side.
It's
but
weird, right?
It is kind of
it's
weird because initially I'm just like, who, like usually when I listen to podcasts, people that I really admire and find inspiring, I'm like, I'm inspiring. Like it's weird. Like
There's a niche for everything, man.
Yeah.
At this point, like, who knew like mukbangs would be like inspiring,
Yeah.
right? So
yeah.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming on the podcast. And I honestly, I'm not anyone special either, but that's just yourself telling yourself that, you know?
Yeah.
And that's what made me want to just jump on. But yeah, thanks for coming on to Good Talks, and hopefully you enjoyed our conversation. And it's just all, you know, like walking away with like saying like, oh, I had a good conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, or good talk, yeah. That's it. I don't know
Sweet.
how to end these videos yet, so I just let it play out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And cut. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Literally, the camera's died.